Coming up on today's show, build news. We've got all the updates. So we've got part 10 of the Star Destroyer, which basically will complete or almost complete the actual build work on the Star Destroyer. So we just need to get it on its stand over the next couple of days. The Red Arrows Hawks, they're completed as well. So we're looking at part 5, talking about deckling and where I made a big mistake. Your questions, loads of questions over the last couple of weeks, so hopefully I'll be able to answer some of those for you. This week's reviews, we've got the brand new tooled Pavia Tornado. This is the IDS 148 scale, absolutely lovely looking kit, especially when you think it's only £20. Clamps, one of my bugbears. I've managed to throw out some of the worst clamps ever invented, and I'll show you what I've replaced them with. Plus we've got all the news, Man Cave news, what's going on with the SIGs and the group builds from the forum. Yes, we're back. What a mad 2 weeks I had. To be honest, it was just last week, couldn't do a show because I had tons going on. Obviously I was pushing through very heavily with the Star Destroyer to meet the deadline for the end of the group build, which has already been extended once, and getting on with the Hawks as well because they needed to be done and getting out. Plus the fact it was bank holiday weekend here in the UK. I know a lot of you were out and about for that one. We also had an airbrushing course for 2 days on the Saturday and Sunday. Sunday night we had the Flory Models members meet here as well, and then plus the fact on the Tuesday I had another member in for a one-on-one airbrushing course as well. So consequently I had so much going on and trying to get done ready for the weekend and everything else. There was no way I was going to get around to the news show. Also, I was waiting for the Tornado to come in, if I'm honest, which did turn up Friday morning. But as you know, I filmed this Thursday, so obviously it was a little bit late for doing that. Anyway, as I said, great weekend. Thank you so much to the guys for coming down. Who did we have? We had Martin, John and Chris over the weekend doing the airbrushing course and everything else. Fantastic work there. We were doing a Mustang, we were working on a Sea Vixen and a FW190. Some absolutely fantastic work. Obviously we covered everything from the basics right the way through to doing freehand camo, which was quite good by the end of it. You were doing a grand job on those guys. Mottling, things like that. And then Chris again on Tuesday, a different Chris, he came down, and by the end of it he was managing to actually do freehand sea camo on a Thunder Chief, which was absolutely fantastic, the Southeast Asia camo, and amazing job by him. He picked it up really, really well, very, very quick. So as I said, great to see you guys as well. You're all members as well, so it's lovely for me to meet you, and I hope you had a great weekend. Okay, so as I said, going back in time, working really heavily on the Star Destroyer to get it done, and to be honest, it is done. The Star Destroyer as itself is done. I put a little video up on my Facebook page with it all lit up, well half lit up. I sort of drilled all the holes in this section, but that next part of the video will be up next week, which will complete it and everything else, and hopefully I'll have it on its stand. I've got that temporary stand rigged up for it, but we'll be putting it on. But on this one we talk about weathering it, okay? Talking about, obviously it gets a wash in this particular episode. It's a very light wash, as you can see. We haven't gone to town with it, you can probably see up here on the overhead. It's just to give it that effect of, and to even it out, because we had some of the panel lines were sharper than others. By using the wash, it's kept it all the same now. And some of them up the front here are like trenches, and at the back, especially here, they're very, very shallow. So it sort of now blends it all out, but as I said, it is done. It does light up, it does look fantastic and everything else like that. So I'll probably put a little clip up of it semi-lit up when I do a night shoot with it, but obviously photographing it is a nightmare because it's pinpricks of light all over it. My camera doesn't like it, and it's only really video that works quite well, and then you're sort of shaking around trying to do it all. But it has been a fantastic build. I know a lot of you saw it obviously over the weekend because we had the members meet on the Sunday night as well, so we had loads of guys around here for that, and you've seen it in the flesh now, and hopefully I think you'll agree it looks better in the flesh than it does on camera, because the camera just doesn't do it justice, especially when it's lit up. The human eye works well, digital it's horrendous, and because it's LEDs you get that slight flicker with the actual refresh rate of the LEDs. The camera picks that up and it's like one of those things. But certainly from my point of view, it's been a dream come true to work on this kit. Yes, I must admit now it's cost me £1,000. You know, just under £1,000. I did the budget on it and it worked out as around about £960 this kit owes me as it sits right here now, with the base as well. So it hasn't been cheap. It's been one of those once in a lifetime kits to work on. personal favourite of mine. As I said, I built this out of Lego as a kid, out of Meccano, out of cardboard, out of wood to have my own Star Destroyer, and now to have one which is a set copy as well, one from the film as well, it's sort of a dream come true. So it will be taking pride of place on my shelf and in my cabinet, and obviously I'll be taking it to the shows I go to as well, where hopefully you guys will be able to see it in all its glory. But as I said, we're almost to the end of this one. Part 10 up on the site now. That will get you basically just past the weathering. What's left on that is to open up all the holes, which I videoed as well with my little tiny Dremel and a 0.15 drill bit, going around putting in hundreds of holes into this. It should be a lot lighter now because I've taken a lot of it out, but certainly you can't see the holes, they're that small, but certainly the light does come through. Looks absolutely fantastic. Next week, because obviously we've got the silver screen group build ends on Saturday night, I will have this done in time for that because I'm going to work on it tomorrow, and then obviously Saturday itself to get it up on its stand. That will be the last part, which hopefully you'll see about putting the holes in it for the lighting, and then obviously on its stand and everything else. So that brings that one to an end, which is, in some ways I'm glad, because it's taken far too long to work on it and it's given me massive headaches all the way through. But on the other part, I'm going to be sad that I'm not working on it, because it's been sat on this desk for so long now, it's sort of part of the desk. So it'll be sad to see it out of the way, but it certainly will be out of the way. So anyway, that's that one done. We also worked on the hawks, okay, which we're going to look at in a moment. As I said, it's not a full build. I know a lot of you members, well not members, non-members have been saying about, oh, when's the next part up and all the rest of it. Don't forget, it's not really a full build, it's just sort of a look at as I go through, okay? So in this part, what we're going to do is talk about actually doing the decaling work and the various bits and pieces that go into it, and the headache I had because I had to actually cut out down on these guys, the actual areas, because the decal runs in there, but to put them all in and go around it all was somewhat of a bit of a nightmare. So let's have a look. Okay, so as you can see, pretty much getting there. One thing I made a big mistake though with the decaling, okay, didn't think ahead. I did it when we did the 1/32 one. What I'm talking about is the problem where when you look at the underside here, you've actually got the flap actuators are going to interfere with how the decal is going to sit, because obviously we've got the decal goes on and goes through. Now when we did the big 1/32 one, we had it all masked up and did it, and to be honest, it's how I did the first one of these. I actually masked it up and I sprayed it, which is, got to think which one it is now, one of these down here. This is this one here, so we sprayed it in. Trouble is though, the amount of time it takes to mask it and everything else like that is a little bit over the top, and quite frankly there's a little quicker way to do it, and that is to basically remove the full one in the middle, okay, take that out, obviously both sides, and then just the inner part of the inner one. So the easiest way I've been doing it is literally with a razor blade. So the only trouble you have is trying not to scratch the paint. Okay, so literally just coming along, and obviously you have got a razor blade in your hand, so just be a little bit careful if you are doing it like this, but you work your way along, okay, and nip it off just like this, then keeping it very safe so you've got the left and right, because obviously there might be a different slight size to it. The curve you cut it isn't going to be the same in every single one. So by doing this, and then this little guy here, we're just going to cut it down there, and then slip him off the back, so we've got both those parts just like that, and that way you can just carry on and decal on. So to be honest, I've got this one done just here, and then we can pop them in. So usual thing with decaling, I've got a little bit of softener in the water already. It's just warm water. Okay, we'll just slip this guy out. He's been sat waiting for a little while, and now as you can see, it just comes along and fits in here very easy, because it doesn't interfere with this outer one. It's good with the inner one, and then what you can do is you've got the shape here, just line that up with a door. Okay, so then when you're happy it's all in the right spot like that, cotton bud, and I just use the roll technique just to get the water out, and it's really just to stop it sliding around as the decal can do. So we just get that one all out like that, and then real quick job, just a case of centering these all up. So we're just going to pop this one in here, use a
some scissors and we're just gonna pop him into position. And it's pretty straightforward here because it just lines up with the door. Alright, now what we've actually got is just needs to lift it and lay it down so one fits under the other. Then the last bit is this guy at the top. So we just bung him in, bit of wet, and then we're just going to come along into position, just like so. Again, making sure it's underneath. Happy, all lined up, squared up, and everything else. And because you're doing it on quite a glossy surface, it's quite tricky to get it all down in there, but there we go, that's that side done. And then if we do the rear part, usual thing, just going to wet down there just to make it slide easier. As I said, this is pretty straightforward because it's on a fairly glossy paintwork, but if you're doing it on something that's a little bit flatter, it can be a bit of a headache. What I do, just pop it down. If it's wet all around it, now we can bring it all into position. Okay, so we're just going to nudge this one in, and we know this one sits down in the back, just like so, and go around. And I must admit, it's been a huge job doing all of this. It's not a straightforward one at all, purely because of how many we got to do. As you can see in front, we've got 10 of them. So we've gone around, we've put on all the other decals you see, so you've got the tail, the swipe coming around, we put these on. I've got a load of little ones to go on, but what I want to do is, obviously we get these decals on, get all the decals on and absolutely fine with it, and then what we can actually do is come along and then put in the smaller ones all after it. So what you can actually do, once they're on there like that, you can simply, if we just grab one of these, this one we did earlier, okay, all in there, no problem at all. But obviously what we've got now is the flap areas. Those activators need to be painted, all right? So then all we do, we're just using flat white, purely because it's easier to use, okay? Quite a liquidy white. Don't use anything too thick because you don't want big drag marks or anything else. Get in there just like that, and then obviously this one's pretty straightforward. He's just going to be in, so we're just going to touch him in. And we'll do the little outside bit here. And on the other side. Okay, a little bit too much paint there, but to be honest, it has to clear up because you get a little bit of bleeding from the red and the decals and everything else like that. But once it dries, it shouldn't be a problem at all. Okay, just make sure you do the middles at the tops, like so. And what this will do is obviously it'll help secure it down and put it into place. So if you have got any little areas, I've got a little one just down there. As I say, it's going to have a gloss coat and it will dry back, but there we go. There's another one all completely done. So as I say, it's just a massive, long, very laborious job doing each of these in turn. As I say, I've been doing it for a day now. We're just coming up for midday. I started it midday yesterday. I worked on it last night as well, and we've still probably got another half a day to go on this. So to say, it's a long, slow job and everything else like that, but certainly it's one of those that's very worthwhile. It's looking the part now, really coming together. So I'm going to get the rest of the decaling done, finished off, get these put back in, everything else like that. We'll do the little decals, get all those situated in, and then we can look at glossing, final assembly, putting them together. We've still got to do the band of colour, which will be one of the last things, which is this sealer effect from the internal plate. So we need to put that one in as well, but we're really getting there now. So there we go, they're done, they're up here as well. So we've done all 10, to be honest, bigger job than I sort of anticipated, which tends to be a story of my life, but certainly really enjoyed it. It's quite nice running through a multiple of, and it just goes to show, if you did want to do your own little display aircraft, you don't just do one, you could do them all, put them onto a display and absolutely everything like that, and you'll have a stunning little set. So now I'm thinking,
perhaps get the guys together and we could do one of everyone's. So we could do, you know, the American teams, the European teams, and obviously the British teams, things like that, and you could have a nice sort of special interest group with all the air demonstration teams. Because as I said, when you're running through one, you take your time and very delicate. When you're running around two, they're a little bit of a pain because you've got to do two. By the time you do three and more, you're on a roll, because it's really easy to do it. And it's just like decaling took a day and a half, and normally decaling would take you on something else like that, perhaps a morning or an afternoon. But when you're doing so many, but again, you get the feel for it, putting the decals down, you know where it fits, you know where it doesn't. It was just that little headache where I didn't think ahead, and I didn't think, yeah, really I should have airbrushed them white, those activators, and put them on as the final fit afterwards. But we got around the problem, and that's the whole point with modelling. You get to a problem, there's no point panicking about it. Let's just do the best we can, make the fix, put it right, and then obviously we can move on with it. So there will be a small little update on that one, which will be up next week, which is just going to sort of finish us off with it. But I haven't gone through much more of that actual build about obviously unmasking it and things like that, because it's pretty straightforward and into our other builds. And don't forget, we have built that aircraft before, and it was on the old basic airbrushing one. But certainly if you want to see that kit done in full in 1/32, then we have got the full video build when we actually did the giant 1/32 Revell kit with all the photo etch stuff that could fit onto it. So if you want to see a Hawk being done in detail, that's the review, to the actual video build to watch. So that's that one done. As I said, that completes me somewhat for doing builds. I've actually got a clear bench, which was great for last weekend, because obviously of having everyone here, I could sort of move everything out of the way. So this does mean, what are we going to do next? Which are our next builds to come up? Well, to be honest, I'm going to be starting on the Tornado. I'm going to be working on that one and making it way through, purely because it's new, it's of the moment, and I want to see what it goes together. We're going to be starting as a longer project in the background, obviously on the Hind 24, which is going to have lots of various goodies into it. But again, that's going to be a long project, which will go like the Star Destroyer has been in the background. But what I'm going to do is a couple of other things and have a few things on the go. They're smaller, I can get 3 builds on the go around the bench here and everything else. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take a photo in a moment, or actually I might even walk you around to the stash, okay, have a look at it, and you guys can make the decision on what the next builds are going to be. Okay then guys, so there's your sort of options. So if we just have a zoom, sorry doing this all manually here. Okay, so we've got everything there from Ospreys, some helicopters, Prowlers, we've got the Black Widow, the Northrop, YF-23, A-10. We've got the 32nd Lynxes there, F-16s. I'd rather not do that Vought Corsair again. More Lynxes, got an Alpha Jet, F4, F5s, Halifax, F4B, a little bit of armour there, so we've got the Tortoise there, Eddard's MiG-21, the Profi Pack, Spitfire, Raptor. To be honest, thinking of doing the Raptor again anyway, 48, so that. The Kafir, which obviously I'd love to do at some point. A little bit, what else we got there? So we've got a helicopter, we've got a Wessex, Hawk, Yak 38, we've got the Devastator, Raphael M, Mirage, we've got down there 2000, I think we've done enough for intruders for a minute. We've got the Demon, the MiG-23, which I'm planning on doing anyway. So we've got the Corsair, the Draken, Sea King, Phantom, obviously we've done Phantoms a lot recently. Hornets I think we're okay for. We've also got, what else we got down there? So you've got the Su-50, Kitty Hawk kits, alright, they're a bit of a nightmare, but I'll give them a go if you want me to do it. So we've got the F-35 there, we've got the Su-27, the Jaguar, the Batmobile, what else we got there? We got the what are we there? That's the TA-152s, a couple of those there. One of them's a prize going out anyway, or for a prize draw. Then we got the F-102 in the 72nd, we've got a Hunter, the Great Wall, some F-16s, and then obviously the bigger stuff down below. Just trying to think what we'll go down there. So Tomcats again we've done. Hunter would be nice if we do the Hunter again. The Corsair, I might wait till the bubble one comes out, if I'm honest guys. But anyway, we've got the Heinkel HE-111, obviously a big one. I'm trying to steer clear of big stuff all at the same time for the moment, but it's obviously that if you wanted me to do it. We've got the Grizzly also down there, that's a TSR-2 that you can't see any pictures of, and a Nimrod. And then the top area up there, you can see we've got the Harrier,
What else have we got up there? We've got a lightning. We've done a lightning before, but could do one again if you wanted me to do it. We've got the A6, sorry, the A4. We've got the Vickers Viscount. The Sky Raider I would love to do. If you want me to do the Sky Raider, I'll be very happy with that. Also, we got the Tornado, the Typhoon there. This is the jet version one. It's all going to get confusing when it comes out. So you got that option as well. So there we go, guys. Plenty of stuff around for you to get me to do. So I'm quite happy to do anything you want me to do off of those. But again, if you put it down, what we'll do, we'll shortlist with you. And then what we'll do, we'll put up a poll and I'll work through them like that.
Still to come on Flory Models. Your questions, hopefully I'll be able to answer some of the things you've put to me over the last couple of weeks. Reviews, so we've still got the clamp review to come and the Tornado review. Plus we've got all the SIG, the group builds, Bob's Man Cave at the end of the show. Okay, so question time, what do we got? Okay, first up, we've got, thinning of using lacquer paints. Okay, this is from Trevor in the US. Yes, but in a nutshell, I think what Trevor's getting at is thinning acrylics, I imagine. He hasn't said, but he said, what is your opinion about using lacquer thinners to thin paint? So, we are talking lacquer thinners, not enamel, all right? So, he says, looking up in his box of tricks, which it's X20, sorry guys, X20, I don't know what's on there. There we go, right, so, obviously what we call hot thinners, or I call them hot thinners, are anything that isn't sort of almost water-based. So your acrylic stuff. These are the stuff when you chuck on your fire, they go bang, all right? So actually what we've got here is two of them. We've got X20, all right, which is Tamiya's enamel thinners, not their lacquer thinners. A little bit confusing because it's like X20. Go from the top colour. If it's a buff blue on the top of the actual thing itself, then it is their lacquer thinners. If it's blue, it's enamel. If it's white, it's acrylic. All right, that's the thing with that. This won't work like a lacquer thinner. Don't think an enamel and a lacquer are the same. They are different. I know there was a lot of things and there's a bit of confusion because of the terminology from around the world, but enamel thinners doesn't thin like lacquer thinners. Lacquer thinners are what I call a very hot thinner. They will melt plastic. They melt obviously paint and thin it out very, very well. Now, many years ago, somebody who I can't remember who it was, chucked this stuff into acrylic paint and found that two things happened. One, it gives you a very smooth finish. Secondly, it dries very, very quickly to a smooth finish. And normally with acrylics, if it dries really quick, you end up with a texture, okay? But actually by using them, you don't have that problem. Now, what we've got here is a leveling thinner. So this is the Mr. Hobby. Don't take it in 400, just means it's 400 mil, all right? But this is the Mr. Color from Mr. Hobby, gets confusing, self-leveling thinner, okay? This is my thinner of choice to use if you want to put it into your acrylics. Now, you can put this into anybody's acrylics. You can't put enamel into everybody's acrylics because it just turns to glue, all right? But certainly, two things this works extremely well with is the guns range, okay? So you've got the actual hobby color and the Tamiya, okay? Or your Tamiya stuff. It works brilliant in those. The drawback to it is, if you're going to be using, or from my point of view, a hot thinner, the reason I don't use a hot thinner and enamel paints and everything is because of the smell. Okay, they do tend to stink, and this stuff does smell to high heaven, all right? And it's a bit like, I try and keep away from alclads purely because of the smell. I don't want to stink the house out, all right? I find it's very fragile as well. But if you're talking about putting it through and using it as a thinner, then yes, absolutely, you can have no problem with it, and it will give you a stunning finish. There's no doubt about it. It's a very smooth, no problem at all. So if you're one of these guys who uses acrylics and you always have trouble with texture with your paint, and it's always a little bit rough when you sort of, you know, using it, things like that. If you use a hot thinner like this, then you'll have no problem with it at all because it will just naturally smooth everything out. You might find as well you get a better flow, okay, and everything else like that. Less stuttering with your airbrush and stopping and starting because it's literally melting everything down onto the needle, then it gets atomized. It's brilliant. So you're obviously thinking now, if it's so good, why don't I use it? the trouble is, it is the smell. I'm trying to keep, from my point of view of the hobby, to be as healthy as possible. So obviously we have spray booths, we have masks, we have all these different things, okay? And obviously it's thinking, I'm doing this in the home, you know, this is my home as much as everybody else's, okay? So I don't want to be there, you know, with the missus or your partner who's turning around and saying, what the hell are you spraying? Because you've just stunk the house out, and you will do. And I've got, you know, an exhaust spray booth there, which all the fumes go out, but it still goes airborne and everything else like that. The other thing as well, you are using a hot product, okay? So you do have to be careful your cleaning routine, your things like that, because some airbrushes don't like to have lacquers go through them. It eats rubber seals, it eats rubber, okay? So consequently you do have to be careful. So if you've got a new range of the Harder and Steenbeck version, they now come with CR version, have Teflon seals and everything. It's fine, it's no problem using, you know, hot lacquers, things like that. But if you've got the older one, sometimes it can cause problems with your airbrush and stuff like that. So you just have to think a little bit ahead, okay? But there's no problem with using it. And to be honest, I think in our older videos I have used it, and I know lots and lots of modelers who swear by it. Okay, so you can use a lacquer thinner, but don't get slightly confused with using enamels and things like that. Doesn't quite have the same effect. Yes, you can do it. I know you get a million emails now saying, oh, but I know you can, but I'm just saying we're talking lacquers here and things like that. So that works really well. So a long-winded answer, sorry about that, but I hope that sort of clears that one up. Okay, next question. Phil, I noticed you use a clear airline. True. One of these. Does it matter how long it is? And yeah, I've taken a clip out of this one though, because I know what he was getting at. I think what he was getting at, and he was talking, he was actually saying that if he has his air compressor in his garage and buys flexible hose and runs it to his thing, does it make any difference how long the actual airline is? And that's what we get at, because I have answered him already on this one. Clear airline, first of all, let's talk about the difference between braided and cleared, okay? Clear airline is cheap, okay? Because it's clear, you can buy this by the meter. Literally, this is, actually, if I remember rightly, no, this one's not, but my other one is actually made by Harder and Steenbeck, for instance, or, you know, got their label on it. This one hasn't, this is another company's, all right? But you can buy by the meter airline, and away you go, and you can run it your distance. Now, a lot of you know, especially you guys over the recent courses I've been doing, I don't use air pressure anymore. I don't tell people to spray at 20 psi, 10 psi, whatever. I tend to do it till they feel correct, all right? And that's the thing, I don't think you're going to get a drop in air pressure purely because you're on a very long line of clear plastic, if you like. The braided ones, don't forget, it's only rubber on the inside. It's going to do the same, but I think the braided ones, they're a little bit stronger. If it were what you had a pipe burst or something else like that, it's all contained in the braided hose. But purely it comes down to cost. This stuff is just peanuts per meter, versus if it's a braided hose, it's probably like, you know, sort of £5 per meter or something. So you've got to think about it. If you are running at 20 meters, it's going to cost you a fortune, versus if it's clear pipe, you know, it's not going to cost you much. But I should think you can do it. The only thing I would say, if you're using a very long length, you know, say from your garage or an outbuilding, because you don't want the noise of a compressor, is moisture in your airline. I have my moisture traps obviously down there, and because they're only traveling, I've got a longer one these days, because when we have the I have other guys here for the airbrushing courses, I've got them travel all around, but it's still not really a problem with moisture. If you're talking where it's coming from outdoors, then into a warm, you're going to get moisture build up in there, so you probably will need to have a moisture trap on your actual feed from your airline to your actual airbrush itself. So you can get them that come along and they sit underneath. It's like a clear ball. It's what we call an inline one. So you actually connect it, your airline, to the moisture trap on the bottom, because if it's obviously very hot day outside and you've got air conditioning in your home, if you're in a hot country, you're going to get moisture build up really, really quickly in a clear line, versus if it's really cold outside and coming into a warm, it's going to be the same thing. So you are going to need a moisture trap inline ones. Again, I can't think of one off the top of my head, I don't use them, but I imagine, you know, they're only talking really sort of £10 for an inline one, a good investment to have. Normally you can adjust the air pressure on it as well. They have normally some type of Mac valve on there and things like that. So yes, you can do it. There's no real difference, and I don't think you're going to lose any pressure from swelling. You're probably going to lose a little bit, but when it's up to power, it will. The only thing is, these ones, because of their nature, they're quite a cheapish type of plastic. They don't last forever. So if it's going to be out in the weather, I think you're going to have a problem. It might be better off to use a metal pipe and run it like you could use some type of PVC thin pipe as well, and just run an airline in via that. Then when it comes to inside your home, then take it from a plastic one off the end, just purely because if you've got to replace the entire length of it, it's going to perish. It's going to cost a fortune. So there we go, that's that one. Okay, next up, upcoming builds. Phil, you mentioned you're redoing a lot of your old builds that I've noticed are now been removed from the site. True, which is something we're going to talk about. I think we've already spoken about, actually. We've sort of half covered it. The upcoming builds. I know a lot of guys have mentioned obviously things like the Lancaster is no longer on the site, the Harrier is now on the site. These are the really old ones from around about 2000. Some of them are actually earlier than that, but around about sort of 2000 to 2005. The camera is awful, I sound terrible, and I probably don't even know what I was doing back then. Okay, nowadays we're more up to date, so I am going to be redoing them, and I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that I'll be doing a build per month plus a couple of other builds as well. So I'm going to have on the go redoing some of them that will be quite fast builds, because they're going to be out of the box, just and sort of concentrating more on weathering and things like that. So I'm not going to be messing around too much with them. We're going to be showing obviously if they've got any proper problems. So I can't think of it off the top of my head, but they probably did have odd little faults. So when I come to a problem, I'll point it out, but mainly it's going to be the overall construction, pretty straightforward, 1 or 2 parts, and then probably sort of another 4 parts about airbrushing, painting and finishing, because that's where I get most of my questions from these days, rather than actually sanding and filling, because quite frankly we've covered that a lot now. We've got loads up on the site about it and everything else like that, but I will be getting on with those, especially now from midsummer up to Christmas. Hopefully have all of those redone in some form or another. Some of them I'm not going to bother because we've covered them now in bigger, grander builds afterwards, but certainly things like the 72nd Lancaster, I know lots of you asked about that, so not taking that one off. I will be redoing it. But don't forget, I have thrown open the door now. You've seen the stash. You just shout in the forum on this news show thread in the forum what you would like to see, and then certainly I will do a short list and a poll if we want, or something else like that, or a voting system, and then that way we can sort of build what everybody wants me to build and move our way through. I've got a couple of projects coming up on the I'm going to do the truck. I'm doing the Hilux truck. I'm going to put loads of plastic onto it to armour it up and everything else like that for the upcoming Mayhem SIG. And things like that. So there's little things I'm going to be throwing in amongst it, but what hopefully I'm going to do now is redo those videos, have quick builds on the go all the time, and something big in the background, so we don't get stuck in a situation like we have done for the last couple of weeks now, where we've had big projects that have taken up everything. So if I've got something a little bit smaller, 148 I'm talking here, or 172nd stuff, so I can literally have it on my stations. You guys who know it will have seen it, and I've got 3 stations here, and I can work on them all independently of each other and just move the cameras around as is required, and that way that we'll have a lot more ongoing sort of builds. And as I said, it's more focusing these days on airbrushing and weathering and everything else like that, because we have covered most of the other topics. So there we go, that'll do it for this week under the questions, because I don't want to bore you all to death, but hopefully that answers. Remember, if you've got any questions, just shoot me a one. Do it through the contact me page is probably the best way on the Flory Models site, and I'll get back to you direct, and then the good ones I'll put on the show. Okay, so first of the reviews today, we've got the clamps. Okay, review time, clamps. To be honest, been working on the Star Destroyer recently, and I don't use clamps as often as I think you would. I tend to use pegs and very sort of old school rubber bands, things like that, but occasionally a good clamp comes in invaluable, especially when you're dealing something like we were with the Star Destroyer, and it needs a lot of pressure and over a long time, so you can clamp it up, leave it overnight or for a couple of days to really sort of get a firm grip. Trouble with it is, haven't got them here actually, it's a bit of a shame, but you got the old-fashioned sort of real cheap and nasty, came with the kits as freebies, things like that, clamps. They're very hard edge and everything else. Now, many years ago, I was given a few sets of these things, okay, which I will be really honest, are the worst invention I've ever seen when it comes to clamps, because they just don't work. Now, I know you're going to get a lot of you out there who probably love these clamps and you think they're fantastic. I have never got on with these since day one. There's a massive design fault. These clamps here, which work to a point of, if we just get something to clamp, okay, you have your object, okay, these got a nice reach and they come in various sizes and all the rest of it, but as you can see, even getting them to sort of clamp with one hand is a bit tricky, but they hold onto the object and you're good to go. The trouble is though, when you grab hold of a object, so we've just got a little hawk here, when you're sort of coming in and you try and get them on, one is they're all over the place, and secondly, you put them in and they just twist off like that, okay, which is a bit of a pain when you just need a nice firm grip. So, okay, it's got it like that, but if you put any type of side pressure, they just ping off. And to be honest, when I was doing some things like this, okay, I was trying to clamp up down the sides, okay, to hold it in. And it's one of those things, you think, oh, got it, okay, that's fine, leave it alone. You turn around and you're a bang, and they go flying off, okay? And it's like really complicated and horrible. Now, all it needed to have was another bar to come through, or make them with square so they can't rotate. But especially if you're trying to do anything with a round edge, so if you've got like something with a curve like this, and you come in and it is almost impossible to get a bite on it. It just doesn't like it. So if you're talking a fuselage half or anything else, like there, I can't even do it. So these, quite frankly, are rubbish. And I've wanted to do that for quite a long time because they really are bad. So what happened was I went on eBay, just having a look around, and I just put in clamps, hobby clamps, things like that, because I needed some for after the Star Destroyer. I thought those are things that have got to go, all right? And actually I came up with these guys. Now these come in a set, and funnily enough, as one of those weirdo scenarios was, one of the guys on the forum posted up a link to an eBay link for these exact clamps, and I bought them from the same guy as well. Now there's a bit of a story to this, because then the entire the forum went off and tried to buy them, and unfortunately he's one of this sort of eBayers who puts up that he's got 50 when actually he hasn't, he's only got 10, and ended up had to refund everybody. But mine came through because I bought a few sets. And this is what you actually end up with. So you get these clamps, literally just like this. And the great thing about them, you've got the two bars, and you've got these nice cushioning and everything else. All right, so when you do come up to any type of object, you can literally come in with one hand, pop them in, give them a nudge, and you're good to go. All right, and it doesn't matter if it's there or if it's on like a said round object or anything else. All right. It gets in there and holds it really straightforward, very easy, and it's got a good bite pressure on it as well. And the nice thing is they're very well made, nice cushioning on there, they seem to be pretty much durable, and also a couple of little things you do get is a stand. So it comes along on a little stand, so if you've got your planes you're working on, you can pop it in the stand, you've got something to hold onto it, just like that, which is really, really handy. If you're doing sort of detailed work, things like that, you can lay it down and it's still holding on the stand and everything else. Also, they have another little capability, which is quite a nice touch, and that is you can pull off the end little plugs like these guys and the base, okay, and you can use it like this. So you can actually have it, when they're incorrect, there we go, actually have it in. It's got some holes in it, as you can see, so you can actually screw it to a wooden board, and this way you could then just come along, have to be a bit careful with these because it's going out tomorrow, okay, and they can just hold on just like that. And if you've got it clamped down, or perhaps you wanted to have it on a sort of a vice setup, so you could put it on a piece of wood on the side, so you can just come in and clamp it. Now I am led to believe this is obviously a general hobby clamp, but railway guys, you'll know this, because apparently it's great for holding train carriages and things like that. You can come along, you have them like this, you know, you can bung your train carriages in there, your long ones, and you can work on them. Because a lot of people, since I mentioned this, says, oh, I've got a set of them, used them for doing trains for years. But they are a great little thing. They're only going to set you back, depending obviously where you go, because there's links in the forums, guys, that they've put them onto various places. But as I say, it's available, and they're anywhere between sort of £4 and £6. I've seen them. The average is around about a £5. I have seen them sort of, they were £4.20 on one site, but by the time you put your postage on, things like that, they go up to around about £5 anyway. But generally, when we're talking about clamps, I would have given my right eye for these when I was doing the Star Destroyer, purely because it just took so long to try and get them to bite in, get them to hold, and then you daren't touch it, because if you knock it slightly, those horrible other things will just ping off. So quite frankly, they're going in the bin, or have gone in the bin, and I won't be using those ever again, because they are just an appalling product, and how people can use them is beyond me, especially when you see photos of the net and it shows it up with about 10 of them clamping something really technical like a biplane. I'm just thinking, you've only got to touch it, it'll just explode and destroy your model with it. But there we go. Zigwin set, as they call them, which obviously is just clamp set. They're a German manufacturer. As I said, eBay's a little bit low on them. I blame the Flory Models clan for going out and buying them in bulk, because everyone did like me as well. They bought sort of 3 or 4 sets. But certainly, if you go on to your local hobby stores, railway guys, as I say, they tend to be onto this one. So if you go to a lot of their selling outlets and things like that, you can pick them up. But they are absolute a bargain. It's the clamp I've been dreaming about for years. So if you need a clamp, these are the ones to get. I think I said in the video about the clamps and everything else, yeah, we had a bit of trouble because the Flory members, I think, bombarded him with a couple of 100 orders for these things in the forum, so he sort of ran out instantly. But it was a bit naughty because he said he had something like 50 in stock, and he obviously didn't. Because it was allowing everyone to buy them on eBay. But don't forget, there is plenty of stores out there, and one of the guys, I'm sorry, I can't remember who it was now, has posted up links to places that do sell them, and they're not massive, they're only a £5, so you know, it's not going to break your bank, and some of them come with free postage, or the postage is pretty minimal. Around the rest of the world, I assume if you're in Germany, you're probably 2 a penny over there, because things they come from there, but certainly in the UK, they're a little bit hard to find. US, again, I'm not sure. I know that they were trying to charge extortionate postage to get it to the US, but there could be clamps out there. So remember, if you've got any clamps on that, then let me know and I'll give them a shout. Okay, next up, the long, very long anticipated, and let's face it, there's been some awful versions of Tornadoes out there. Hobby Boss, all right, halfway there, but they have their fit issues and problems as well. But certainly, let's hope Revell have brought us a stunning Tornado. Hi, welcome to Flory Models. I'm Flory. Review time. This is a kit we've been after for a long old time. This is the very highly anticipated Revell completely new tool, 1/48 scale Tonka or Tornado. This is the IDS German one. We're expecting this kit to come along in various guises because, quite frankly, well, we need one. History check. Airfix, don't even buy it. Terrible. But certainly for the last few years, really, the Hobby Boss Tornadoes have been halfway there. Okay, and as we all know, I am by no means whatsoever a rivet counter. If it looks like something, it's good enough for me. But it did have a few little problems. Like, it was a bit unfortunate that the thruster reverser buckets at the back, sort of in the closed position, or the open position, so they're actually in working and things like that. If you wanted them without, you had to fiddle around with it. But it did give us some nice sort of insights into things, i.e. having positionable flaps and slats on it and things like that, which was a lovely little touch. Some more detail than certainly we've seen before with wheels, gear, bays, and obviously the cockpit, things like that. But we knew Revell were going to come out with something a little bit special on this and really give us a bang up to date sort of Tornado. So what you've actually got here is a real bargain as well. This kit is only around about, I think the recommended retail is around about £22, something else like that. I picked this one up at 18 on the internet, so there are some bargains out there. As I said, 1/48 scale, completely new tooling. As you can see, some lovely artwork on the front. We do have to mention, you only get one set of decals, but at least they're quite stunning because you get these markings in it, so absolutely lovely. So, usual thing with Revell, a few little pictures of what you're going to expect to find obviously in the inside, and this is what we're saying about the actual thrust reverser system. The buckets on the back, you've got both ways. few, as I said, this nice little touch with the slats and the flaps all deployed and things like that, and the speed brakes on the back and everything else. Usual thing, it's just a normal open-ended box, some blurb on it just like that. And quite frankly, it's a little bit horrible because the boxes. But I did see somebody the other day actually cut it down here and then flipped it open, and at least you can use it as a box end. So you tape up the sides and you do have this type of box. And I know it's one of those little things, but actually it's quite a handy little tip. So in here, what you actually get, and I can't lie, I have looked at this before. We had our members meet on Sunday. This arrived last Friday, and I wanted to obviously show the members and everything else like it. So we've already had a little sneak peek, but nothing in depth. So, usual thing, a little bit of blurb. It's Revell's standard sort of call outs for everything. So your usual health and safety, the bits and pieces. The parts call out, so we've got all the trees lined out here and everything else, and obviously steps 1 and 2 just down here. Interesting to see this part breakdown, which we'll talk about as we make our way through the kit parts. But certainly, as you can see, it's very busy straight off the bat of getting this all in. It's a little bit in your face and cluttered, so you're going to need to take your time to actually go through this, study the instructions all first to get a rough idea, because in this kit we've got a couple of new features we haven't seen, certainly with Revell before, but in general. Alright, so you just want to be looking at as this goes down. We've got the Revell normal call outs for colours and that, which is a little bit of a pain, okay, but certainly working your way through it, it's pretty much as you would expect, pretty much standard. Things that we have noticed straight off the bat here is you've got full length intakes that go all the way down to the engines, which is quite a nice touch. You don't get detailed engines, but certainly you do get the intakes, so it's quite nice because Tonkers, you're looking down into them, you can see a long way down there. Again, right the way through, so as I said, you've got lots of lumps and bumps that are going in absolutely everywhere on here. We've got the front end, as we'll talk about as well, it's a little bit complex. It's like a long belly plate, which is this guy here, and then these two halves are going to go on the front. This is where we're expecting more releases of perhaps F3 versions and obviously other versions of Tornadoes to be coming out. It's all designed for it. So going through, you've got to make your decisions quite early on exactly how this is all going to go, but some things you do get actually manoeuvrable, the actual pylons obviously for the degrees. As a modeler I don't think you use it, but it's there. You've got the usual tooth cog system, if you like, for doing the wing fold. I always think it's a little bit sort of, you know, when you're a modeler you could just place them in, but I can understand the reasons why. Spine goes down, it's a nice one piece at the top, and the way the lines go, it should be minimal amount of fillers and that to go down in there. Okay, and then as I said, all these technical parts going in, depending on how you have the angles, would be depending on how you're actually going to cut in to actually having things fitted in. Quite nice detail on the engines. You can see there's a little bit of time going in on these, which is quite a nice touch. Tonkers, remember the tail sitters, so you're going to need weight. It's saying 40 grams. I normally double it just to make sure without bending the gear. Positionable rudder, and again lumps and bumps on at the back as you're going through. The tail is not positionable, which is a little bit odd because I thought it probably would have been, seeing as everything else, but I don't think it is unless I'm looking in the wrong area. Sorry, I'm just backtracking slightly to see. I didn't see a cross member, and it is a plate that goes on in there. No, I can't see anything going across the back. So I wondered if these went onto a plate that then swivels. It might do, I don't know. It's saying it doesn't. We'll have a look anyway in a moment. Again, this is where we talk about those the flaps going on there and on the back, and you've got the spoilers going in on the top. Very nice touch. I think everybody will be doing that. Nice to see. You've got some nice detail with these the worm gears going through there, so that's quite nice. Those spoilers on at the top or down. Air brakes obviously fitted. You can have deployed or closed. And then we've obviously got this situation for having the the thrust reverser buckets in the open or closed position. You've got the full option with that. Pylons going through, obviously all the way in, the gear and everything else. We'll look at those lovely decals in a minute. But as you can see, it is quite busy and quite technical with this all going together, but I'm hoping it sort of just goes in, if you know what I mean, and goes down and in there. So we're just looking around how this actually goes. Sorry, we're just wondering why it has. It's obviously just for the cockpit in the open or closed position. but I'm just wondering why it's got a little diagram of a plane here. It looks like the slats deployed. Something I have to do my homework on that one. Going right the way through, lumps and bumps going on. You got the bulge pod going on there, and obviously you've got the side winders. Oh yes, going down. True drawing of them though. I hope they're not like that in the kit. ECM pod, the recce pod going down there. Talking about the tanks obviously going on, and then this great marking system with it. So it's the U-shing. It's 45, 44, 2008 scheme. For the Tornado, which you have to say, and I will say it, the Germans absolutely do a stunning job on painting their aircraft. If you go to any of the air shows or anything, their aircraft just look absolutely fantastic. And this will be another great one. So here we go, we've got the decals, as you can see, beautifully printed. And what I love about this one, the actual carrier film is tiny. It is right up to the edge. Okay, and it's nicely rounded off, so we're not going to have tearing, but you've got minimal, and I mean really minimal carrier film on everything. Everything is so close. It's literally right on the edges of anything. The only thing I'm noticing down here, we've got decals for all the instrument panels, which I don't like. Okay, but looking through that, that is really, really nice. Do like that. And it's beautifully printed. It's obviously like a silkscreen printing on the back here, because it's no grittiness in this printed area. Sometimes you get a little bit of grittiness where they're done on some of the manufacturers, but these absolutely lovely. It's one of those things. I am going to be building this kit almost straight away, starting on it probably as early as next week, but will I be doing it in those markings? Not quite sure. So anyway, moving into what is going to be a mammoth load of sprues. Hopefully we get it in the camera. So straight off the bat, looking down on here, what we can see is amazingly very, very nice detail with recessed panel lining, obviously as we'd expect, and riveting. And when I say riveting, it's proper riveting. It's not just a hole, it is a rivet. So it's a circle with a small dome in the middle of them. The only thing is, and obviously, you know, we are only paying 20 quid for this kit, the moulding is a little bit soft. It's not the crispest. We've got sink marks, but nowhere where we're worried about. But the mould hasn't been polished, okay? So it's not like a Hasegawa kit where the mould is completely polished and out everything else, so it gives you that very shiny finish, which is fine when you're doing something in flat, but when you're talking about doing things like outclads and chrome finishes and gloss work, then you're going to be in here polishing it all up before you start. Generally looking in though, the cockpit detail, as you can probably see, hopefully you can see, it's really, really nice. It's all very sharp, in fact to the point where it's really sharp. When you run your finger over it, it's all there. So again, you could either use the decals or obviously do it by hand. Rudder pedals are moulded in for the guys who are here at the weekend, and that's we were discussing. Rudder pedals, you know, does anybody actually put the photo etch ones in? Anyway, little tiny bit of sink mark on top of the speed brakes here. I can see it and I can certainly feel it, but again, I don't think there's anything you go massively worried about. But you've got a little ejector pin mark. In fact, why have you only got one? You've got one ejector pin mark in one and not the other. Again, it seems to be an odd way of doing it. As you can see from the underside down here, we've got the internal detail for the actual nose wheel bay, which looks very, very nice. But generally looking around it, it's got a lovely level of detail. It's just not as sharp as you might want, but again, it's what we're saying here, it's not bad on the money front, and you've got very slight ejector pin marks in things, okay, and other things are quite heavy with it. One thing you are going to have to be very uber careful here, we've got these grub screws, you can see down here for the actual doing the flaps. They look like they're about to come off in a heartbeat, so just be careful about those, about when you remove them from the sprue. Just be a bit more sort of technical, perhaps remove them when you need them rather than anything before. Rear cockpit of the Tornado, obviously it's the IDS version. I know one of those big questions is, can you build all the other versions from this? I'll let you know in a minute when I've been through it all, but certainly we seem to be okay. Again, we've got sink marks down here, catch them in the light. But you're not going to see those down inside it, but at least you haven't got ejector pin marks, which is quite nice. As I said, some of this fine little detail with obviously the slats and the flaps and the various things seem to be quite nice. This top detail on the actual spine looks absolutely lovely, really, really nice. Back onto the other side, you've got ejector pin marks inside the intakes, which is a bit of a pain because those you will have to deal with. Only on one side, so they're going to have to come out. But again, there we go, the Revell date, 2014, there we go, kit number 03987, Tornado 48 scale, very nice. Okay, some of the smaller little parts. So this is the ejector pin, the ejector seats, the little nose wheel. So you've got moulded in harnesses, which is quite a nice little touch, down into all of these. And then we've got obviously very fine, you can probably see these little skeletons of the actual seats themselves, but they do look nice. I think by the time they're all put together, we'll be okay with that. And then over here, this is for the actual the thrust reverser mechanism. Okay. This is the top and the spine for the main area itself. We've got two guns here, which obviously the RAF one doesn't have. I don't know about the German one, if it has guns on both sides. But again, it's personal choice. But because it's a small little fret, it may be one of those things where, as I said, other kits are coming out. Other kits and versions will be available. So centerline pylons, we've got the little, again, it's both sides. The little warning receivers up on the tail, the main pylons as well. Again, very nicely done. No ejector pin marks or anything. A little bit of flash, but that's nowhere we're worried about. So that's pretty good. The recce pod and the jammer pod, again, nice detail, recessed panel lining and everything else. As I say, only the German version carries that one. Tailplanes. Okay, this is where Hobby Boss fell horribly. And they was theirs rounded completely. It was pretty horrible on the tail, so I know you needed to sand them in. These are spot on, absolutely lovely. All of these pretty good. A little bit of flash on the nose cone. The nose looks like that tornado shape. They have that sort of funny taper to them. Seems to be pretty good. Okay, a couple of other lumps and bumps down there. Definitely going to have to sand out these. Oh, I don't know. You might be all right, but it's pretty close on these ejector pin marks. On the back of it, just to make a nice fit on those. So that's not too bad at all. Right, we've got not a match pair. Nope. So raised detail on the actual fuel tanks themselves. Again, nice touch. The buzz pod obviously is, or Bose pod is recessed panel lining. Very good. The Sidewinder pylons, very nicely detailed. All the lumps and bumps seem to be pretty good. That Sidewinder looks horrible though, because surely it would be the M version, or the L, sorry, the L, the Lima. No, it would be the M. Yeah, that's not. That's like a B version Sidewinder. I'm sure they don't carry them. But again, I have to check my references on that. But I'm just looking down here. It's a match pair, so as you said, you're going to get two Bose pods with the fuel tank, but I can understand why they've done it, because you've got the detail, which seems to be very nice on this exhaust, the actual area up there. If I just bring the side camera in for some of these better details. Okay, you can see we've got pretty good detail on all of those, but those Sidewinders are particularly not good. The rest of it's all looking very nice though. Right, now this is the parts we can sort of talk about. So, I am by no means whatsoever a Tornado guy, but the only thing I do know is the slight differences between the RAF versions and other people's, and I'm sure one of them was the sort of glove area above the wing as it goes into the wing root. And obviously down here we've got targeting sensors on K, so I'm assuming, in fact, I don't know that well. The German one doesn't carry, or certainly that one down there is the IDS, doesn't carry the chin mounts. These have got both of them. Although looking at it, it's quite slanted. I have to check my references, but it looks like you could probably, well, you're going to be able to do the GR1 out of this for the RAF. I don't know about the GR4. And I do believe the GR4's got a different cockpit. But again, it's only roughly. But certainly you do have both the chins, which was always the thing with other manufacturers. You had to get aftermarket ones to turn it from a GR1 British Tornado into the GR4, the current or sort of later Tornado. But again, I think there's some differences on these the shoulder areas where the wings join the fuselage. We've seen one of these before, just another set there. Now this is the interesting point. You've got here a one-piece complete bottom fuselage, okay, and different top fuselages for the front around the cockpit. The F3 version is considerably longer to house the Skyflash missiles on the belly, okay, and it has a completely different nose because of the radar and everything else. But I'm thinking perhaps this sprue would enable you then to actually, with a choice to go to an F3 version, because if you just replace this one, you could then use all the other parts to build the Tornado, although you are going to need a different nose and things like that and a different cockpit. But certainly it gives us all the options for it. So we've got the outer pylons down here, we've got the actual engine, which you get a nice little bit of detail. These area here will be not covered on the top, so it will all open up. But generally looking down it, you can catch it in the light, you've got very nice detail running through. The refueling probe, only in the closed position unfortunately, so you're not going to be able to open that up. No internal side detail in the inside of the actual cockpit itself. But again, it all seems to be very nicely done. And again, you know, we are talking £20 for this. And again, here we've got another top for the actual, goes in the fin on the top here, which here it is here. These guys here, which we've seen another pair of them, this is one piece, goes in, so that could be another version of it. So we are assuming that it's definitely going to be the GR version, which is the British version, will be out shortly. Okay, so looking round at it, we've got the main gear just down here, which, if we're honest, isn't exactly brilliant. It's a little bit, well, basic to say the least, but I think it'll be pretty okay once you time your liven it up with some brake lines. Obviously we've got the flaps just down there, again all in their different sections, which is quite a nice touch. And everything in, again got the Tornado on the tail and everything else like that. So the flying fin, or the big fin, certainly seems to be getting a thumbs up at the moment. But again, you do have to, you know, no matter if it was bad, it's only 20 quid. It's cheap as chips. Bit of a problem there. Can the piece come off? Right, okie dokie. Best way to do this probably on the hand trick or coming through. A little bit of wobble, but nothing you would worry about. You've got a nice, well no, scrap that. I thought it was a nice join. It's very smooth. The detail is on the inside, not on the outside, so masking it up, you're just going to have to take care. Center one's okay. You've got little, oh, there are holes in it for the mirrors to go in there, but generally seem to be okay. It's pretty thick. You don't get a center seam line. That's not a center seam line in that. That's actually the deck cord running down through the top. Okay, front one, that one is raised, so it's easy to mask up because you can put some tape in there and go around and do it. As I say, all the little lights and the various bits and pieces down here on part F, very nice, seem to be really good. So what can you say? Well, as I said, we've all been waiting a long time for this one, and obviously I haven't put it together yet. I haven't seen anybody put it together yet, and I haven't seen any other reviews on it because I've sort of done this straight away. But from what I can tell, as I said, not being a Tornado expert, it does seem to be exactly what you would expect out of a Tornado. I can't see any problems with it, and it's got all the parts we've always wanted. So we do have now actually, so we can have it with the flaps all down, the thrust buckets obviously open or closed, whichever way you want to do it, and all the other parts that go with it. So certainly from looking at it from my point of view, it does seem to be pretty much spot on, no problem out of the bat. It would be nice to see the GR4 kit come along, because I'm pretty sure the cockpit on the GR4 is different to the IDS version, which is obviously the German version, but that's the only thing. But I'm sure the aftermarket guys will be on like this, like, you know, bees around a honeypot, because it's one of those sort of iconic aircraft. And obviously other versions you can come along, the Italian version, you could do that one as well, and then obviously you've got the German, and then obviously other countries from around the world like the Saudi ones as well, particularly very nice in camo work. So I should imagine this will become the go-to kit, and then the aftermarket bits will all drop in this one. It'll be absolutely lovely. So by the time you've got the Edard Photo Etch set for it, and probably Aries will do a cockpit and all the usual bits and pieces, you will have a stunning Tornado. Okay, so there we go. Let's hope it's good, and we're going to find out because I'm starting that next week. Alright, so follow through the builds. As I said, it's going to be a straightforward out of the box pretty smartish build, getting onto it because I want to know what it's like, and as I said, it's at the day, so I'm going to try and whittle through it, so it'll be one of the first builds of it to be done. It does look pretty good, I must admit, just looking out of it. Yeah, okay, it would have been nice to have a couple of other decal options down in there, just not to do the sort of, you know, this one, but I think it works really, really well. It's nice to have something very well printed, and as I said in the review, I love the German ones anyway, because they have absolutely stunning stuff on them, and the actual markings and the paint jobs is brilliant. So again, we'll be getting on with that one. Pretty smartish, and for 20 quid, in fact I only paid £17.95 for that, so it's even cheaper, so it is a complete bargain. And that's the thing, do you have to spend what should be £50 148 kit? We're always expecting to pay £50, £60 for one now. Brand new tooling out, you know, now £20. I think it's Revell, really kudos to them, great value for money. So even if it has got a few little problems, it's £20, you know, you can then spend extra to bring it up to speed and it won't break the bank. So really looking forward to that one, and said stay tuned, part 1 of that will be up next week. Okay, so news time from the SIGs and group builds. Okay, obviously this big one, we've extended it a month, that is it now, so that's why I'm finishing this tomorrow. The silver screen SIG comes to an end on Saturday night. Now obviously we have this every time. What time? Roughly, as long as you're done Saturday night to Sunday, okay, when I get up Sunday morning I'll lock it, that's close enough. We're not going to say it has to be done at midnight, just roughly, just make sure they're all in before I lock it when I get up on Sunday morning, put it like that, and then that way everybody's in and it's done, okay. Remember, I should have brought one down, but I've forgotten it. The medals are in, I've had them done already, they're here. I'm hoping on the stickers as well will be in. If not, I might hold off sending out the medals to make sure the stickers are in, but we have done very nice Flory Models stickers, so everyone will get Flory Models stickers and the medal if you complete. You know, don't forget, there is prizes first, second and third, but just for the moment, just everybody who completes gets the medal and the Flory Model sticker, which is a version of something like that one up there, all right? Remember, just make sure that you've done a good photo build of it. You know, some of you do tend to skip through rather rapidly. The whole point of this is doing it so we can all see your work going together. So it's not like, you know, take a picture of the box, 1, 2, miss a few, 99 and it's done. We want to see proper photo builds all the way through. But as I said, everybody has this time. It looks really, really nice. So really, you know, get those done. I know some of you are very, very close to the finish line on this one. Try and get them done, guys, because it has been one of our most successful group builds to date. Okay, then obviously not next week's show, because I'm going to have to obviously edit it all together and everything, but probably the week after we'll have the review and the winners. Okay, so 2 weeks afterwards I'll announce all the winners. So don't forget, first prize for the winner will actually gets the Zucamori plus all the extras Sky Raider. Okay, so that is what, 270 quid's worth. Then after that, second prize is going to get the Tomcat. And don't forget, first, second and third also get free membership for life and some sanders as well. And as I say, second prize gets the 148 scale Hobby Boss Tomcat B, the Bombcat, and then third prize gets the, I think it was the Meng ME410 with the bits and pieces as well. So lovely prizes, first, second and third and everything else, but everybody's a winner as we know on Flory Models, so congratulations to everybody. And we have had some brilliant entries, some stuff completely off the wall you would never think about, but you know, again, brilliant job. And if you are getting really close, try and get them done, all right? Okay, we had start last week, so I wasn't here, was the Tiger SIG. Now this is the Tiger tank for the Armoured Fighting Vehicle SIGs. That started last week and you got the 14th of September for that one. And as I say, loads of entries for that. Massive scope. Don't just think, you know, oh, it's a Tiger tank. There's so many different versions and theatres of it that there's lots to see on that one. So that one's being run by Steve. We've got the Fleet Air Arm, which is the Royal Navy Fleet Air Arm SIG going. That's going to start, is going at the moment, it's going to run to the 6th of July. We've got 27 entries in that at the moment, and we've got 7 finished, so good turnout on that one. That one's doing really well. Don't forget, also we've got Dave's post-apocalyptic, hey, said it first time, Vehicle Mayhem SIG. That's going to start on the 5th of July, and as I say, that's, so you've got loads of time on that one. As I say, it's a lot of people have said, what can you enter? I really think as long as it's on wheels, you can enter anything. It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't actually have to be anything. As long as it's on wheels and drives, I think that's really about it. You can put what you like into that, and away you go. So, I don't know, think out of the box. Think, as you say, world gone mad, Mad Max and everything else. All right, that's the easiest way. But I know about a couple of people say, can you enter? And I've said yes to everybody who said it so far, because let's face it, there's no real rules to this one. It can be absolutely anything you like. And as I say, I know the guys, the team guys, have spoken about it as well, and you're coming up with some great ideas as well. So, you know, as I said, just think out of the box. Think grafting things to other things. It could be a ship on wheels. It could be a submarine on wheels. You know, whatever you want to do, go for it. Okay, let your imagination run wild. Okay, so up after obviously this finish at the weekend, we've got the next group build. So we are doing the D-Day Operation Overlord, both sides of it. Originally it was just going to be the Allied forces, okay, but I don't think that's right, so I overruled, and we're doing both sides. So it can be the German and, well, obviously everybody who was involved in that theatre. So you can just really go ahead, knock yourself out with that one. It's going to start on the 6th of June, obviously being the anniversary. It's going to run to the 23rd of November. Again, there'll be full prizes and everything. I need to get some stuff in for it, because as I say, we're not sponsored, I pay for it all. So I'll get some kits in that are a little bit more sort of D-Day-ish, shall we say, and everything else. One question I've been asked a million times is, am I doing the new Airfix Typhoon? This is the prop World War II version versus the jet version. Yes, I will, but it might not be as soon as it comes out. That's all I'm saying. I might wait a little bit just to see how it plays out with the aftermarket guys. It's a big kit. I want to do it justice, so sometimes it's better just to hang back a little bit and not build it straight out of the box, purely to see what the aftermarket boys might come up with, and if there is any problems in that, then they can be identified and perhaps aftermarket parts can take care of it, because it is a big old kit. And as I said, I don't want to be tied down straight off the bat doing something massive that's going to take up my desk when I want to get on and do lots of other kits, if you like. As I said, the stash thing you saw earlier, you know, it's up to you guys now, so you tell me where you want me to go and I will certainly do it. So really, that's about it for this week. As I say, nice to be back and everything else, back to on par with it all. I have got some great reviews coming up for you, because the guys are here on the Sunday Flory Models meet have left me, and I will rattle them off. I have over there the F101 Voodoo, which is the brand new Kitty Hawk kit, which make an interesting review, trust me, because I've already had a look. We've got the Buckeye down there, the special hobby one as well. We've got the Hobby Boss, sorry I'm having to read it from through a chair and everything else, the Hobby Boss Corsair. We've got the Kitty Hawk T2, T4, obviously the two-seater trainer, Tomcat, and we've got the A36 Apache by Italeri, and we've got a couple of World War I tanks and a BDM-1 from Panda. So I'll be reviewing all of those this week. They'll go up on the site, and then obviously they'll be part of the new shows as we make our way through time. So that's about it for this week. As I said, great to be back and everything else like that. Remember, get those ones done. Okay, you've got, well, if you're watching this on Saturday morning, you've got today, all right? If you're not, if you're watching this Friday night, then you should be finishing it off and everything else like that. Anyway, talking of big projects, poor old Bob Bailey up in Scotland has been redoing his man cave for what seems like a lifetime. Anyway, he's finally finished and he's made a fantastic job of it. So I'm going to leave you with some photos from his great man cave. So until next week, everybody, happy modelling and take care.